But heading on to Christie's International Real Estate. Christie's International Real Estate just releasing its annual report today, offering insight into what shapes 90 of the world's most luxurious real estate markets. Joining me now is Christie's International Real Estate CEO, Conn. Dan, most luxurious property market in the world this year. What is it?
Most luxurious property market this year, London, as we've seen
for the fourth year in a row.
Yeah.
Why?
Combination of factors. Top prices, sales velocity, which even though it's attenuating slightly, is still strong. The number of sales, the number of luxury homes, frankly, and just the concentration of wealth and the concentration of luxury property that you see in that market.
Do they have a lot of new building there, or is it mostly, because here in New York City you see these gargantuan towers that are going up, and I want to get into that in a little bit in terms of new supply coming on the market. Is London experiencing the same thing, or is it older properties?
It doesn't have the same dynamic. They control the development much more. South of the Thames, you see significantly more of it. And what's happened is there's been development of condominium property, and a commercial center has developed along with it. And so there's a real logic to it. But a number of the developments that you see, the beautiful high-end developments, are really much more contained. We're doing one at 10 Trinity Square in London, the old Port Authority building, which you would have seen if you watched Skyfall, the Bond movie.
Yes.
Fabulous property. It will only be 41 residential units. So it's a completely different style of development.
Hong Kong was second. New York was third, if you want to pull that. I think that was what I saw. In terms, and then Los Angeles and Singapore, is there any sign of weakness in these major, in terms of luxury real estate?
Oh, definitely. Hong Kong and Singapore have had cooling measures now for a while. And so you see the attenuation in growth is most significant in those markets. New York is slowing down a little bit, but you're talking about really high sales numbers. So you still have a strong market. The same with London. They're doing really well. I think the story in New York, and certainly what you talk about today, is now the explosion of the high-end condo development, the super talls.
There's the tallest, but it's over on Park. Is it on Park? It's over in the East 50s, and it's the tallest residential building in North America, is it not?
It is. I mean, likely will be eclipsed at some point, not in the too distant future, but you know, now the 1,000-foot plus tower is what everybody talks about.
You can see it when you drive up to New York or if you're flying in, but to that point, I look at those and say they cast shadows over neighborhoods, and I know that it's cool being way up in the air, but is that really where you think in major cities luxury real estate is going, whether it's here, even in Asia, maybe not London, but in other places where you have, because it makes people dislike the building and dislike what it represents, because again, you're living in shadow if you live in a low-rise building.
Right. It is tougher, right? I mean, if you're next to one of those, it's definitely tougher. I think for the buyers of high-end residential, they're attracted to it for a number of reasons, not least of which is the amenities that come along with it, the services, right? So it's a model that works here. It works in Hong Kong. It would not work as well in a city like London, where they do control it much more. Or Paris. Which has been on fire this year, but development is really not the story there at all.
Wait, we'll talk about that. Paris has done really well, even with the terror threat that we've seen and the terror attacks both in Brussels and in Paris in recent history. Well,
it's one of the great comeback market stories, right? There was much of Europe lagged in the recovery, and if you saw Paris in 2014 when you looked at it, it was well below peak prices. It was benefiting from a weak euro. And what we said at the time was everybody, all of the smart money should be going in size into Europe. And now we're seeing it. Right? Paris was up, the sales volume was up 21% in 2015, and it's still 20% below peak pricing, with the euro 25% off historical highs.
When you have wealthy customers and they have the option of where they're going to buy real estate, do you tell them that this is where you should buy? You might be looking in London, but you should really look in Paris instead. Do you give that kind of advice to people?
You know, it depends. If they're talking about where they're going to live, you're giving them advice on how you pick the best properties in that market. If you're talking about where to put your money, I'm absolutely focused on where the real opportunities are. And sometimes you have to be contrarian. You talk about places like Puerto Rico, Greece. I mean, those will be the themes in 2016 and 2017, because they're still a great buying opportunity.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Dan, it was really good to see you.
Great
Thank you so much. Dan Conn. Okay, it makes me want to travel. Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.